Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all well. Thank you, everyone, for giving us sort of an hour of your time this afternoon to take you through Sage Intacct. Please don't panic. I know I've got what is the beginning of a PowerPoint presentation, but I'm not going to bore you to tears. Really, the idea is just to sort of introduce who we are, what gives us the rights to demo Sage Intacct for you. But really, what I want to do is get you over to my colleague Hamza as soon as possible so that he can take us through Sage Intacct. The one thing to note for today, we are going to cover really the core financials of Sage Intacct, and the demo by any means doesn't really dive into the true capabilities of what the system can do, but we tend to have more focused demos to sort of go into the areas that are more relevant to you. Anyway, so let's do some quick introductions. My name's Rory Healy. I'm a sales consultant with Vision33. My role is to work with prospective new clients, understand their requirements for a new finance system, the challenges their current system has, and really line that with what Intacct can do for them, not only as users, not only as a finance team, but also for the business as a whole and how Intacct is going to support that growth moving forward. And with me today is Hamza, who is our delivery manager. Hamza works within our delivery team, but is very much Sage and Sage Intacct through and through. He is himself a Sage Intacct certified consultant and has done many implementations across various different organizations and sectors that we work with. Now, introducing who we are a finance-driven sort of partner in terms of finance transformation. I think the key thing to take away here from this slide, guys, is that, I mean, at the end of the day, Intacct is a very good finance software, but it is software. And really what is important is that you choose the right partner. So it is crucial that you get the right finance system in, but equally as important that you bring the right partner in, because it is a partnership at the end of the day. It's much more than just an implementation of the software and then ongoing support. You really want a partner who is going to work with you for the foreseeable and ensure that your investment in your finance system is always being met, and ensuring that it's meeting the requirements of yourselves as an organization too. And we've been doing this for a very long year. We've worked with Sage for 30 plus years. We've got a very strong Sage Intacct delivery team. We are in fact the largest Intacct global partner that there is for Sage, and we're very secure in terms of our financials. The group revenue is not a brag by any means, but one of the questions we do get typically asked by prospective clients is, what does your financials look like? Because of course, the last thing you want is to go through an implementation with a partner only for them to say disappear 6 or 12 months later after you've gone live. So I just put that up there to show you we're not small by any means. We've got very good growth and we are very profitable. We see growth year on year as well. Now, we work with a number of different customer examples. I know we've got a lot of not-for-profits today, registered charities, membership organizations, but we've also got SaaS and technology companies. We work with a lot of these types of organizations, but we also work with a number of different types in different organizations as well. So there's huge amounts of experience really in the delivery team, and also knowledge that is transferable, in each implementation. So it's a very consultative experience when you sit down with Hamza and the team. And Sage Intacct is a best-of-breed finance solution. It's not an ERP like you might find with NetSuite or Dynamics. It works as a multi-dimensional accounting solution, which Hamza is going to walk you through in regards to what dimensions are. Dimensions, now, they might be something that you're familiar with already, or the concept is entirely new, but Hamza is going to sort of explain what they are. The idea with Intacct, though, it is a best-of-breed finance solution that has been built with a very modern look to it in terms of the modern user interface. So the idea is that it's very easy to get to grips with the solution. If you're coming from the likes of maybe Sage 50, Sage 200, these are actually very natural steps up into Intacct as well. Now, Intacct is what we call a modular-based finance system. What I mean by that is you get very strong core financials, but there are a host of different modules that you can add onto your subscription if they're necessary. And the benefit here is that customers only actually pay for what they need, and then you add on the additional modules as and when they become sort of necessary. And that's part of my role in the sales process, is firstly to identify you have the right modules that you need going into sort of day one, and then your customer success manager works with you to identify if there are potential modules for phase 2, phase 3. Now, Sage Intacct is a micro verticalized solution. What I mean by that is, depending on the type of organization that you are and the sector that you sort of sit in, when we come to provision your environment, we will provision you under that type of sector. And this means that you will get sort of reports that are more nuanced to your type of sector, functionality as well. But there are also modules that have been built depending on the type of business that you are. So, for example, SaaS and sort of subscription type businesses will have modules that are more tailored around billing, SaaS metrics, things like that. But they're not for profits, for example, very strong on the fund accounting, so something that you'll get natively, but then also things like grant tracking and billing, and additional features around spend control, and stuff like that. But it doesn't matter, again, if you're a general business or a healthcare hospitality, the core financials of Intacct, it's the same for all of these organizations. And that's what we're going to be taking you through in a moment. And Intacct, it doesn't matter if you're a single entity or a multi-entity organization, whether here in the UK or internationally, Intacct will support you. We've had many customers come on to Vision33 as an Intacct customer, started out as a single entity and then have since grown, throughout the UK, and then have actually started to grow their international footprint as well. So it's very scalable in that sense. It's got very powerful multi-currency, functionality, advanced consolidations, multi-book accounting. But again, if you are just, a single entity in the UK or, a multi-entity in the UK, that's absolutely fine as well. And again, Hamza's going to walk us through what multi-entity and what multi-currency does look like in Sage Intacct. I do know that a lot of not-for-profits maybe multi-entity, but also have, trading subsidiaries as well. And again, that's something that Intacct can support. And then last but not least, we also have our integration platform, which is Saltbox. It's something that we at Vision33 have developed ourselves. We are, in fact, a strategic integration partner for Sage Intacct. So if you were to go to the Sage Intacct marketplace, you'll find us there. But essentially what Saltbox allows us to do is plug Intacct into any other systems that you are using within your ecosystem of products within your organization. So, whether it's a CRM, donor management platform, e-commerce websites like Shopify, you name it, we can integrate with it. There's about 30 industry connectors that we've already got already, but we can integrate with anything. To be quite honest, it doesn't matter if it's, through an API or a webhook or a CSV import. It's just really sitting down with you and understand what does that integration need to look like. So that's enough from me. As I said, I was going to keep that short and sweet. And Hamza, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Rory. So you guys should be able to see my screen here, and welcome to your first look at Sage Intacct. Just like Rory said, I'm going to be taking you guys through a little bit of a demo of the system today. This is a demo environment, so there's a lot of dummy data, etc. in here as well. Having said that, though, it is a multi-entity shared environment in multi-currency as well. What that essentially means is I have one login. Once I log in, I have this entity selector drop down here at the top, and you should be able to see I've got various different entities or trading companies across the globe there in multiple different places in the world, and they're all in different currencies as well. So predominantly for today's demo, I'm going to be working in the United Kingdom because that's where I am. But equally, I could work in Australia in their local currency, or South Africa in Rand, or the US in dollars, and so on and so on. I'm going to start up at the top here on one of the nice things to look at in Sage Intacct, which is our dashboards. Now, dashboards, again, may be new to you. And on this dashboard as well, I'm going to introduce you to something called dimensions of what Sage Intacct is very famous for, because it is a dimensional system. So in this dashboard here, this is sort of like a CFO dashboard that I've put together. And in this case, it is a consolidated dashboard in USD, which means that all of my entities are being consolidated and rolled up into a single currency for me to be able to report on them at a sort of overview, high level, where I can see all of the entities on the same page. So up right at the top there, I've got a graph across the top, which shows me my revenue, total cost, and net income. And that's across all of the different entities that I have here. So it's giving me a really, really good holistic view of everything that's going on along all of my different companies. Everything you see on dashboards is, of course, drillable. So this figure down here, we've got a total revenue, and this is obviously this month, which is up 10% compared to last month, which is great. And of course, all these figures are drillable. So if I click on this figure, it will actually open up the report that makes up that figure. So I'll just pop it over here because it's opened up on a separate tab there. So it would pop up the report that makes up that figure, and we can see we have a full breakdown of where that 3 million is actually coming from. So we can see majority of it is from our revenue and subscriptions. We've also got revenue from services, contract services, etc., and then also some intercompany professional fees. And we can see when those figures were actually generated and when they actually came from. So majority of our stuff was actually done pretty decent across both months in 2019 when this data was based. But again, you could carry on drilling through on these. So if I have a look at this and see, oh, actually, hang on, we've got in contract usage, we've got a negative figure there. If I click on that, it will drill in even further to the general ledger report, which I'll pop here. and it will show you where that number comes from. So we can see that 1730, which was from here. If I click on that, it will take me into the report itself where I can see even more detail. And again, I can carry on drilling through. So I can click on that figure there, and that will take me back to the originating journal entry where that figure comes from. Ooh, click too many buttons. Let's try it again. That'll take me back to the originating journal entry that makes up that figure. So we can see you're able to go right the way back to where those figures actually come from. And it gives you a really, really good way of looking at everything at a really high level, but also being able to drill into the detail if you need it. A few of the bits I've got on this dashboard here. So I've got things like operating expenses and my margin in a percentage format. I've also got things like operating expenses by department. Now, this is where we start to introduce the concept of dimensions to you guys. So you may be familiar with dimensions or cost centers, as some people call them, or you can think of them as reporting categories, but we will come on to them in a little bit more detail shortly. But here I can essentially see that each of my departments in my company have what their operating expenses actually are. So we can see that admin's operating expenses are 492,000, which is quite a lot. So if I click on that, it'll pull out that bit of the pie chart. And again, it will open up the report that makes that figure, which I'll pop over here now so we can see it. So we can see there where that figure actually ends up coming from. And it's 492K, and they spent a lot of money there. I don't know what on, but there we go. So you've got that. And again, you can carry on drilling through. So we had $61,000 in employee benefits. Again, you can carry on drilling through there, and it will keep drilling through to give you the detail that you're looking for from this really high level perspective. Now, this is really good for if you're a CFO, or if you're a CEO, or any sort of high level in the business where you want all the detail on the same page, but you don't necessarily want to jump into each individual report and have to run individual reports to get those figures and then collate them outside of Intacct or anything like that. You've got everything you need on the same page. You can see all your cash balances, etc. there. And of course, everything is drillable if you need that data. Okie doke. Now, dashboards don't sort of stop here. They are completely customizable. So you can do them role-based. Now, I have a couple of others which I want to show you guys as well. So let's say you are working in just accounts receivable in your company and you're just a subject matter expert for accounts receivable. I've got a dashboard here which is just for AR. And for this one, I'm going to jump into an entity. So let's drop into United Kingdom. And you guys will notice I'm actually on just Google Chrome here. It's a fully cloud-based system, so you can access it from anywhere in the world. You can access from any device as well, MacBooks, Windows computers, phones, iPads, anything you want. As long as you've got an internet connection, you can get on here. Cool. So this brings us into my accounts receivable dashboard. And for someone who works in AR, this is really, really good because it shows you all the little different bits and bobs that you need. Again, all on the same page there. So we can see some high-level AR trade account details here. So we've got some of the invoices that have been posted. If I need a little bit more detail down here, I've got actually all of my invoices listed, when they were posted, etc., and how much they're on for. So we're doing quite well. We've got quite a good amount of invoices in there. I've added a couple of reminders for myself. So verify invoice number and amount, etc., review, customer aging daily. And I've also got some custom navigation bits and bobs here as well. So if I just want to jump straight in and create a sales invoice, I can just press that button. It will pop out the sales invoice screen, which it has done, but you guys can't see it. And I can just enter a sales invoice really quickly and stay on this dashboard. So essentially from this dashboard, I can log in every morning and I can just pivot to all the different bits and bobs that I need to throughout the day and do all the bits I need to. Okie doke. Your customer agent goes above and beyond just a normal report. You can have it in a graph format. You can see it intercompany receivable. And again, same thing again, everything is completely drillable. Okie doke. So that's a little intro into dashboards there. Now let's pivot slightly and start to look at some of our dimensions. And to do that, I'm actually going to jump over into a transaction so you guys can see how these dimensions actually work. So let's strip it right the way back. Let's just go and enter a normal sales invoice. So I'm going to jump into accounts receivable and I'm going to go to AR sales invoices, super basic. And this gives you a good chance to see what invoice entry looks like as well, which is, again, quite important when you're just doing transactions in the system. So I'm in my UK entity here, and you'll notice that I've got all these color-coded as well. So when I actually jump into the entity, I know which entity I'm in and I'm in the right one. So if I was to start working in Australia and I jump into the Australian entity, it will change color at the top of the screen. You can see it's in blue now. This green tab across the top won't appear in a live instance, of course, but we can see we're in Australia here, and then I'm in the United Kingdom here. And probably the best part is I can simultaneously work in both companies at the same time. which is really good if you want to do inter-entity transactions and things like that. So yeah, back to the UK, and in a normal invoice, I've got my date and my GL posting date, and then I can select a customer. So let's go with Hamza Stationery Shop, which isn't a real business, just by the way. And we'll buy 100 pens, right into the description. We'll select the term, so let's go with net 30. Again, this is all user defined. So as you go through your implementation with us at Vision33, we'll pick and choose how all these wordings work, which terms you have, how your screens look, all that sort of fancy stuff. You can add an attachment if you'd like to. I've got a couple of attachments already in the system there, but adding an attachment is really easy. If you wanted to add one, it's literally as simple as dragging and dropping. So I'm just going to drag a screenshot. I don't know what the screenshot is of, but hopefully should be fine. So I'm going to drag it and drop it on the page, and the system will just automatically attach it. So if we open this up a bit here, we can see that screenshot is now in there. I can click on the paperclip, and we need to save it first. Let's get it in there. Attachment test demo. Save it in our receipts folder. And if I click on the little paperclip here, it will actually pop out and show me what that attachment was. It's popped out into a different page, so I'm going to pop it over here for you guys. But we can see that it's actually popped out and showed me what that attachment was, which is just a consolidation thing for somebody else. But yeah, we've got that in there now, and that's attached to my invoice, available for anyone to see. Okie doke. Of course, this is a multi-currency system, so if you do opt for the multi-currency module, you are able to transact in any currency in the world. There really isn't any upper limit. In this environment, I've got a couple of currencies configured. So we'll keep it nice and simple. I'll just transact in GBP for now. Intacct uses something called the Intacct daily rate, which is a live rate pulled on a daily basis from oanda.com, which is a really reputable source for exchange rates. But for whatever reason, if you want to use your own exchange rates, you can do that too, and we can help you import those into the system. Or on the fly, if you want to just enter your own rate, you can select custom and pop in your own exchange rate into the exchange rate box there. But again, I'll keep it nice and easy today. We'll go with the Intacct daily rate. Then it's just a simple case of selecting your GL code or nominal account or chart of account code, however you like to call it. So we'll keep it nice and easy. I'm going to go with revenue services. All right. And we'll say we're buying 100 pens and they're £1 each. So I'm going to go with £100 for transaction amount. Now, this is where we start to introduce the concept of dimensions. So typically where you might have in your legacy system selected a nominal code or a GL code and put the amount in, put your tax in, which is standard UK VAT. And again, Intacct can support any tax jurisdiction in the world. You just got to let us know which one you want to do and we can do it. And you would just usually hit post. We now have a couple of additional fields. So if I just click on the show details drop down, we can see our dimensions area and we can see all the different extra dimensions that we have. Now, nice and easy, we'll start with department. What this allows you to do is basically say, right, we've sold 100 pens. This was done into GL code 40,100 and it was done by the sales team. Nice and easy, right? I do also have a location department. So I can actually specify down that this is obviously in my United Kingdom entity, but within my United Kingdom entity, I can have multiple locations. So as an example, I have restaurant 1, 2, and 3. So I could say, right, it was restaurant 2 in the Department of Sales. I could go above and beyond that and say it's a sales type. So again, I've got a few examples here. If you're an NFP, you might be interested in restricted funds and unrestricted funds. Again, you can categorize your transactions into the different types of funds or different types of sales types or different types of anything you like, really. And then later on, we can report on those. So I could say, right, this is a restricted fund or goes into my restricted fund. And then above and beyond that, if I want to select a specific project, which this falls into, I could select that as well. Yeah, and you can see the level of detail I'm actually able to go into when I'm posting this transaction. What this then means, as I mentioned, is later on when we look at reports, we'll be able to run a report on just sales, the Department of Sales, and see all the different transactions that have fell into there. Or we could run a report on restricted funds and see all the different transactions that have fell into there, both expenses and income. And it gives you a really, really good way of reviewing things from a slightly different perspective or a point of view. And you also get that really granular level of data, which lets you slice and dice in all the different ways that you want to be able to look at your data. Okie doke. So instead of relying on just things like memos and descriptions and stuff like that, you now have actual reportable fields which you can leverage to get the information you need. Okie doke. So we'll keep this nice and simple. Let's go with the United Kingdom as the location. Sales department, we'll say it's a restricted fund. I'm happy with that. Got my tax on. Then I can hit post. Okie doke. And that's my invoice posted straight into the system there, which we can see at the top. So it was £100 with £20 of VAT. And yeah, from there, I'm able to apply a payment once the customer pays me and just process that like normal. Okie doke. But that is a little bit of an intro into Dimensions. Now, pivoting back over to the reporting side of things, we've now got this transaction into the system, and you can see I've actually got loads of transactions in the system. Now, I want to be able to see what's going on in my restricted fund or in my sales department. With that, you get a really, really nice dedicated report center here. So if we jump into the report center, what you're going to get with your instance of Intacct from scratch, and you don't have to do any of this or set anything up, this comes straight out of the box with your subscription, is you get a whole bunch of standard financial reports that come with Intacct. And we've gone above and beyond. So what we've got here is normal balance sheets, but then we've taken it a little bit further and we've done a balance sheet with previous period comparison. We've got one in a detailed version, in a condensed version, in a summary version, so on and so on. Same with your profit and loss here. You can run it in a detailed view. You can run a percentage of revenue, profit and loss, actual versus budget, by department, by location, and so on and so on and so on. Okie doke. So it gives you a really, really good way of straight out of the box, you're able to run reports from all of these different angles that are brand new. And then from there, you also get 2 dedicated report writers, which you're able to leverage. And as part of your implementation, you get taught how to use them too. So I'll actually be on with you, teaching you how to set up reports, how to create new ones, how to edit the ones in the system. And you're really easily able to make adjustments to these, which we're going to do now. So let's just run a profit and loss here. I'm going to run a profit and loss detailed by class. And class is again one of the dimensions. I should mention as well, you can rename any dimension in the system. So if the word department doesn't work for you and you want to do something else, or you want to call it something else like cost center or fund or anything like that, we can rename those and they will change across the system. Okie doke. And we'll run this as of today because I've just posted a transaction today. So I want to be able to see if I can grab that. And if we run that, we're now able to see a profit and loss really quickly by all of the different types of classes that I have in the system. Okie doke. Now, again, class is just the Intacct way of calling it, but I could rename it to whatever I want. Now, we can see there that in the restricted funds for year ended 31st of December 2025, we now have a figure in there, and that's the figure I've just posted, right? And that you can see which nominal code it went into and how much it's gone in. And there may be multiple transactions, which is why it's 250. But I could click on that and that would drill in. So if I just grab this and put it up here so you guys can see it, this is the report that it pops out with. And we can see that this is made up of 2 invoices. There's the one I've just posted today, the 6th of August. And we can see what department it's in, what location it's in, £100 there. Again, if I click onto it, it will carry on drilling through. It will take me back to the originating journal entry, which I can drill through again. So I can see the double entry that was made. But if I drill in even further, it will take me back to the line items. I can drill in even further, and it will take me back all the way to the originating AR sales invoice, which you guys have just seen me post. Okay. So in that fashion, you're able to run a really, really nice profit and loss detail by all different types of dimensions that you've got in the system. Now, let's ramp this up a little bit. So let's pop back to the report center. I'm going to run a profit and loss detail. So just so you guys can see how easy it is to adjust and manipulate these reports. So if I was to go ahead and just run this report here, at the minute, this is just a very basic profit and loss in detail in GBP for year ended 31st of December 2019. That's all well and good, but I want to be able to see the full year expanded out in a 12-month period. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I would edit this report. Let's jump over to the report center again. So reports, report center. I will find my report that I want to edit. Let's have a look. So there's our profit and loss detail. We'll edit this. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this page here. I don't want to overwhelm you guys, but I'm going to do a real quick change. So I'm going to jump over to columns. And all I'm going to do is say, for my actual column here, it's currently set to current month. I want to see current year, and I want you to expand it by a time period, and I want you to expand it by months. Set that, save and done. Back on my report here, all I've got to do is refresh. And straight away, you're now able to see that I have a 12-month profit and loss, month on month, all the way through from January all the way to December. Okie doke. So literally just a couple of clicks and I've manipulated a report to produce something which from a management reports perspective, that makes a massive difference. Alrighty, and that same methodology applies across any of the reports in the system. They're literally that easy to edit. Now, that's just me doing it with a couple of clicks. Imagine how easy it would be if you've had full training on it, which is what you would have with an implementation from Vision33. Okie doke. So, great stuff. So, let's come off reports now and let's pivot slightly into a slightly different area of the system, which can also be a pain point for a lot of companies, which is purchasing or purchase orders. All right. Now, in this environment here, I do have various different types of purchase order workflows set up. So I'm going to show you the ones that I've got. Let's jump over to transaction definitions, and you guys can see the different workflows that I've got here. Now, this is probably a little bit blah to look at, but I'm going to run you through it in a very basic way. Now, purchase order workflows are, again, bespoke. So as part of your implementation, if and when you do sign up with Sage Intacct, we'll sit with you and we'll go through what your purchase order system looks like at the moment. If you don't have one, we'll help you design one. Okie doke. But if you say to us, right, we have a purchase order system and we want to start from requisition, that goes off for an approval and then comes back. And then from there, it moves to a purchase order. That then goes off for an approval, comes back. From a purchase order, we want to fulfill our order. So we want to do a goods dispatch note or something like that. Great, let's do one of those. That comes back and then it can be converted to a supplier invoice. Okie doke. At point of supplier invoice, you wait for your invoice to come in from your supplier. You convert your goods receipt note rather on purchasing to an invoice, and you pay your invoice off just like normal. Okie doke. So if we look at this workflow here, let's start from requisition and let's follow the lines down. So from our requisition, and again, I have loads of workflows in here, which is why it's so messy, but yours would be nice and simple. So let's go purchase requisition. From there, let's convert it to a purchase order. From purchase order, I want to actually make sure that I've received the item. So once the item comes in, I would convert it to a fulfillment. From a fulfillment, once I've got the invoice, I'm going to convert it to a supplier invoice or a vendor invoice in this case, 6 and 2 3s, right? At point of invoice, I can pay that invoice like normal. If for whatever reason I need to return a product, I can convert my invoice to a return and then also to a purchasing debit memo, also known as a credit note, as we typically call it in the UK. Okie doke. So that's one of the workflows I've got. Now, ramping that up a little bit, you guys can see that I've actually got multiple workflows. So I've got one which is an inventory workflow, and that's if you're tracking inventory and keeping inventory in-house. Intacct will actually manage that inventory for you. So it will increase stock, increase cost of goods sold, GL accounts. It'll hit all the right double entries for you as well. And you can do things like physical inventory reports and things like that. I'm not going to get into inventory on this call, but if you do want a more in-depth demo of the inventory module or any other module, just reach out to Rory and he can set that up with me. Okie doke. Again, we've also got a purchase order with spend management. So if your company's really into looking at budgets and making sure you don't exceed your budget, so you can get something called spend management, which will do the lot for you. You don't have to worry about that. And if someone tries to raise a purchase order which exceeds the budget, it'll flag up immediately, let you know that you're going to exceed the budget if you do this purchase order, and so on and so on. And then I've also got a blanket purchase order here as well, which is a blanket purchase order can be used for multiple invoices, but you've just got one purchase order, as I'm sure you guys know. Okie dokie. So let's put this into practice and let's do a workflow. So I'm going to start with a requisition. Here's a few that I made earlier. So I'm going to add a new one. And I am an unrestricted approver in this environment. So everything will just go straight through as approved. But in your environment, you would probably have a approval matrix and the system would go through an approval matrix, which we should be able to see here. So let's see what we can do. So let's pick a supplier. I'm going to go with American Express. Let's do American Express. Now, these guys are based in San Jose in the US, and I'm obviously in the UK. So the system has defaulted this to the USD transaction currency. I'm going to override it. I'm going to do this in GBP. You've got your standard bits and bobs there, which I'll not run through for now. But what I will do is I'm going to select where I'm selling them. So let's just say I'm selling them service one. Let's go with that. And it falls into department. Sorry, I'm buying something here. Let's buy service one. And that falls into the Department of Services. I'm buying 10 of them. We'll leave the unit to hours for now. I don't want to mess with it too much. And that's just the way I've got the system set up. But again, this is user defined. So yours could say each or hours or anything you like. And we'll say that each of those cost £100. The system will work out the extended price, which is £1,000. No VAT at this point, because typically what you would have is your employee users or your staff entering requisitions. we don't want them to worry about VAT or anything just yet. We'll think about that later. Okie doke. So I've got my requisition set up. At that point, we can just hit submit, and this would go straight off for an approval to the correct approvers. So we can see there's a requisition. If I click on this pending, mine's approved immediately, but we should be able to see who it would have gone to. So if I click approval history here, we can see that this has a two-stage approval. So the first person should have been Emma, and then after that, there should have been a value approval by value approvers, whoever they may be. Okay, but again, I have overridden this. We can see it's been approved by me today, so that's fine. We can bypass that bit there. Alrighty. Now, once your requisition is approved and has returned, we can convert this directly to any of the purchase orders that we've got. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just going to go straight to purchase order. Okay. What the system will do for you is it will pull everything in from the requisition, so you don't have to do any retyping, and it will link to the requisition too. So we can see here it says converted from purchase requisition 18, which is great, which means we have a nice match between the two, and we can always track back and see if there's anything we need to look at or anything like that. I'm not going to make any changes. I'm happy with that. So let's submit again. Now the purchase order is generated, which we can see at the top there. And again, if I click on this word pending, I can actually see the history of this. So we can see there's our requisition, which was then converted to a purchase order, and it's now in pending state, meaning it's waiting for the next stage of conversion. So I'm going to convert it again. This time I could go to fulfillment, or I could go to a vendor invoice. I'm going to jump straight over fulfillment, and I'm going to go straight to invoice. At point of invoice, we may get an error here because it's a US supplier and I'm in the UK, but we didn't in this case, so we should be fine. Great stuff. You'll notice that this page is slightly longer, and that's because we now have to attach some taxes because we're in the UK. So before we post the invoice, we pick our VAT. So I'm going to go with UK Purchase Services standard rate. That'll give us a 20% tax there, and we can see the tax, and then our base amount, which is £1,200 in this case. Typically, you would have an invoice from your supplier here too. So you would enter their supplier invoice number. So I'm just going to put in there invoice test demo 6825. Okay. You can add an attachment to if you need to, and anything else you want to attach to this. And then finally, we'll hit post, and that will go straight through. It will post my invoice, which we can see now at the top. And if I head over to accounts payable and AP purchase invoices, there's my invoice at the top, which I can now click pay on and pay my supplier invoice as I normally would, using any of the payment methods that you can possibly think of in real life and in the system. Okay. That is an end-to-end workflow of the purchasing module and a bespoke purchase order workflow. Okie doke. Brilliant. All right, so from there, let's pivot slightly over to consolidations. Now, as I mentioned, this is a multi-entity, multi-currency environment. We have entities all over the world in all different currencies. And now I've got to the end of the month. I want to do some management reporting, but I want to see it at a consolidated level. I don't want to have to go into every single entity, run my P&L, run my balance sheet, pull it into Excel, consolidate everything manually into a currency using rates, and there's a big mess in Excel. You can do it all automatically in Intacct on its own, right? So I'm going to go to top level. I'm going to go to consolidation and run consolidation. Super simple. I'm in the period that I'm in 2025 here, of course, and I want to consolidate my global locations, right? So this is one of my consolidation books. I tell you what, actually, let's do it in global GBP. So let's consolidate our GBP books, and we'll consolidate Jan 25 to December 25. I don't know if it's going to let me do that because I haven't consolidated the rest of these months here. Yeah, it's not. I have to consolidate the rest of them. Tell you what, let's do global locations then, because we're able to do that. I'm going to consolidate July 2025, and it's literally a case of clicking the box, that selects all of your entities, and then I'm going to press consolidate. It's going to send me an email once it's all done. I'm happy with that, so press OK, and it should now change color into blue, which means it's running through. All right, so that'll send me an email once it's done. In the meantime, let's just have a look at how that book is set up. So you can set up as many consolidation books as you need in the system. This global location one that I've just done, let's have a look at this. Now, this one that I set up, I basically said, I want you to consolidate all of my entities. So let's have a look at the entities to consolidate. Pardon me. I want you to consolidate all of the entities that I've got in the system into a single currency of USD. The balance sheet accounts, I want you to translate them using the ending spot rate pulled from the Intacct daily rate. And my income statement accounts, I want you to consolidate those using a translation method of my weighted average rate, again, pulled from the Intacct daily rate. Any currency exchange gain or loss, post it into this GL code here. And moving on, any eliminations or automatic eliminations between entities, so any inter-entity transactions, they will be auto-eliminated into this GL code here. Okay, doke. The rest of this is very individual and detailed, so I'm not going to go into that. But you will notice on this last page here, we do have a lot of G2 and due from accounts. So again, as part of your implementation, we will help you set up your inter-entity account mapping. So every entity has a relationship with each other, which means you can do inter-entity transactions and they are automatically eliminated, which I know is a big issue when it comes to consolidation, and that can be a nightmare. Intacct will handle it all for you. Okie dokie. So let's go and check and see if our consolidation is now done. Awesome. Great. It's gone into green now. That means the consolidation is done. I have also received an email into my emails there. So we know that's now done. Now I'm able to run any report in the system by this consolidated book, and I'll show you guys that as well. So let's jump over to our report center. And I'm not even going to run one of my consolidated reports. What I'm going to do is, just so you guys can see how easy it is to run any report in the system consolidated, here's my consolidated reports. But I'm going to run a consolidated report. I'm going to run a profit and loss, which isn't consolidated. So let's just run this one here. And I want you to run this. So here's my reporting method. I want you to run this for my consolidated book of global location. Run it as of, let's say, end of 2020, because that's what I've just consolidated up to. I think it was July I just did, right? So let's just do end of July 2020. And I want to take out all the filters. Let's just go ahead and run that. Right. Now, we are now able to see all of the transactions in all of the entities on a profit and loss in detail in the currency of consolidated into across a full 1 year period, month on month. Okay, doke. So these figures are actually all consolidated from all the entities together, right? There must have been that many transactions in there because we've only got one line across the board there. Let's run it for a previous year where I know there is transactions. So let's do our global location book. Let's do it end of 2019. And let's run that. This is a little bit better looking, so we've got a lot more detail in here. Now, again, just to clarify, this is all of my entities consolidated into the same currency, literally as simple as that. A couple of clicks, and I've done a full, probably a week's worth of work of consolidations into the same currency, and I'm now running my management reports ready to send out to whoever I need. I can email them directly from the system. So if I press email, that'll bring up the email page, which you guys can't see. How I can print them, I can send them straight into Excel in whichever format I'd like as well. I can send in CSV or normal Excel. So if I press that, it actually starts downloading my files straight away. Again, all of this is drillable. And at the bottom there, I'm able to see month on month how I did. By month ending 31st of December 2019, I had a P&L of 373,158 across all of my entities. Okay, this report can be filtered too. So if I click on filters, I could say, right, show me the global book. So look at the global book, but specifically show me how the UK did, right? So if I press that, this is now a P&L specifically for the UK from the consolidated book. And it, of course, is in USD because that's what my book is consolidated into. But I can see how the UK did, just as simple as that. I could go filters and I could say, in fact, let's look at this from a different angle. Let's do a profit and loss by location so we can see how each entity did. So let's do that. Okay, and what we should be able to see here is all of my companies in column view. So I can see all of my different companies along the top there, and I'm now able to see how each company did together in the same periods, in the same currency. So we can see that the UK did $681,000 by the end of December in 2019. The US did really well. They had $1.2 million in revenue. Same with USA, they did a P&L of, or a net income rather, of 1.6 million, and so on and so on. The holding company lost a lot of money. Don't know what's went on there. So again, I could run some queries directly from this report. We can see we had $310,000 in payroll and related expenses. I can expand that out just by clicking the little arrow, and I get a much more detailed view of where that money's actually being spent. So we can see we had $229,000 in salaries and wages. And again, carry on drilling through, carry on doing new inquiries, and we can give access to whoever we need to look at these reports, so they can go in and have a look at all these reports without actually having to even export them if you don't want to. Alrighty, so that's like a little bit of an overview into consolidations and then how to report on consolidations as well. And just to reiterate, you can do this with any different report in the system, of which you get a ton of them standard straight out of the box with Sage Intacct. Okie doke. Cool. The last thing I'm going to show you guys on today's demo is just jumping over to another big pain point for a lot of companies, which is bank reconciliations, my least favorite topic. But here we go. So you do have a dedicated cash management functionality in Sage Intacct. With that, you're able to set up all of your credit cards, current accounts, saving accounts as you normally would. So if we jump over to our current accounts, we can see here, I've got current accounts in any currency. So you can set up your currency bank accounts in here as well if you have some. And better yet, we can also connect bank feeds straight into Intacct. So any transactions that happen in your real life bank account, they can flow straight into Sage Intacct and you can just review them all here. Now, this is obviously a test system. I don't have a real bank connected to this system here, but I can simulate one, which I have done, so I can show you guys how that might look. So let's just jump into a bank rec. And I believe it's this bank account here that's got a feed connected. Let's have a look and see. Yes, it is this one. All right. So this is what a bank rec screen looks like. All right. And it's just a standard bank rec screen, nothing too crazy. The layout might be slightly different to what you're used to seeing, but more or less the theory is the same as any standard bank rec, right? So you've got all of your different information bits and bobs across the top there. We've got our statement ending balance and our book balance. Spent a lot of money in this account, but we can see that the amount to reconcile here is minus 23 million. Not a good position to be in my opinion, but there we go. And here we've got an Intacct tab and we've got a bank tab. Okay. On the Intacct tab, this is your Intacct bank account. Here you can see all of the different payments in and out of this bank account ready for you to reconcile. Over on the bank tab, we can see all of the payments in and out the real life bank account. Okie doke. And that's again ready for me to reconcile. Now to reconcile them, it's very simple. We pick a transaction. So here we can see, right, Computer Science Corporation, they credited our account for 1818. In this case, I think it's dollars, right? Yeah, it is dollars. I would click on match. That would show me all the transactions on the Intacct side. So we can see here, select Intacct transaction to match. I find the corresponding transaction. Here it is from Computer Sciences Corporation. And this was an AR receipt. So we've been paid by them. You can see up here, remaining to match is 1818. I check the box. This goes to 0. I press match and it comes off the list. Okie doke, and the amount to reconcile will reduce. And in that fashion, you just chip away, chip away, chip away, as you normally would do in any bank rec until the amount to reconcile is 0. At that point, you hit reconcile, and that is your bank account reconciled for the month. Okie doke. Now, this bank account rec that you're looking at is a particularly complex one because I've got such a wild number to reconcile there. And all these transactions are random, so they're not real transactions, of course. It's just for testing purposes. So yeah, here it's a little bit more complicated than it would be usually for you. But hopefully you guys are getting the gist of what a bank rec would look like. Now, that's just a very basic ideology of how a bank rec works, very, very classic way of doing it. Intacct starts to introduce quicker and better and more efficient ways for you to be able to do your bank recs, so that when you get to month end and you're ready to do a bank rec, it doesn't take hours and hours and days and days. Okie doke. Now, as part of your implementation, what we usually do is go through your bank rec with you. We figure out how often you're doing those and how we can make them better. All right. Now, typically what happens is you've got this screen here which says bank transactions on it. Throughout the month, we encourage you to, all of your transactions will filter through onto this page. We can't see that because I don't have a bank connected in real life, of course. So all of your transactions for you would filter through here. And as they come up, you can see we've got buttons here across the top, which we can use to receive money against outstanding invoices. We can use to assign them to a customer or pay off other invoices. So you're doing your normal transactions as the days go on, but you're actually killing two birds with one stone here, because not only are you paying off invoices and receiving payments to invoices, you're also reconciling things at the same time, and that's happening in the background. So by the time you get to your bank rec at the end of the month, there shouldn't actually be that much for you to do, which means you can just finish off any final bits, press reconcile, and that's the reconciliation done. All right. If that's not enough, we can ramp it up even further with reconciliation rules. Now, this is where Intacct will take over for you a little bit, and it will use something called matching and creation rules to do matching for you. So if a transactions came in where the amount, the document number, and the date matches something in Intacct, it will reconcile the two together for you. Okie doke. Again, what we'll do is we'll look at your bank account during implementation and figure out what the bank is sending, and we'll leverage that information to make sure you're putting in the same information in Intacct so that your job is minimized as much as possible. Of course, you get a chance to review stuff because you can't rely on systems completely, especially when it comes to things like this. You want to make sure it's right. So you get a chance to review them, but for the majority of it, Intacct will do the heavy lifting for you. And that's where we start to see the automation and the benefits of having such a big system like Intacct in place, especially if your company's growing. Intacct will continue growing for you. Okie doke. Brilliant. So that is pretty much everything I wanted to go through. I'm just conscious of time there. So I will wrap up. I'll hand back to Rory. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. And if you want a more in-depth demo or anything like that, again, Rory's your guy and you can arrange one with us.
Thank you, Hamza. We will be following up anyway, just to see what your thoughts were about Intacct. And if it's something that you'd like to take sort of further, we'll then arrange what we call a kind of introduction call, discovery call, and just sort of, you know, understand what it is that you're using, where you are. And then from there, provide you a more sort of tailored demo around what it is that you need. So with that in mind, I think what we'll do is we'll end it there. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. And as I say, you will get a recording of today's demo likely by the end of the week. But yeah, we will definitely be in touch. And say if it's something that you're looking to do, perhaps your year end is sort of January, even April next year, and you're already starting to look into bringing in a new finance system, now is a very good time to start having those conversations. And again, it'll either be myself or a colleague that will have that initially with you. And again, Hamza will likely join us in a more focused demo. But until then, thank you very much, everybody. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and hopefully we'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.